everyone, this is Dominique from the Black Women's Guide, and welcome to our next episode, our fourth episode actually, of the Black Women's Guide show each and every Friday here on the Black Women's Guide page. Today I want to talk about kind of building habits and creating habits. So we talked a lot about different business survival tips between inspiration, managing your task, finding your business BFF. And so I want to talk a little bit more about kind of building good habits around supporting your business growth and development. So it's easy to get overwhelmed by the size of your vision, right? You have all these big ideas, all these big plans, and you're thinking, how am I going to get it all done, right? But how do you get out of your own way when it comes to growing your actual business and ultimately, help get some profit so you can stay in business? So let's talk through a little bit. What steps can you take? Think about it. Whether they're daily, weekly, monthly. What kind of things can you do to help keeping you, on the right path, on the clear path, and helping you move forward? So I wanted to share a little bit about kind of the ladder method. So I've been talking about this a lot. You've probably seen this on the page. This kind of idea of how do you use a ladder model or method to stagger your business growth and development. But even if you're on the first rung of your ladder, right, like you have all these different things going on, you say, okay, I'm going to start with just this, and this is going to help me get to the next steps in my life. Or I'm going to start with this business, and then when I get this to a healthy place, I'm going to start this other thing from that, right? But even on the first ladder, there are some things that you have to do to keep it steady, right? Before you can even move forward, you have to kind of do some things at that first rung to ensure success so you can move on to the next thing. It sounds pretty obvious, but you really have to complete step one to get to step two, right? We often think we can jump step 2, 3, 4, get to step 5, but we all know in reality that's really difficult and very rarely does it happen that way. And we end up falling back down to step 1 and starting over from scratch. So I want to just talk a little bit about, and I'm going to just share a personal, antidote about myself here, because I think it's important, you guys are watching this show and you might be watching the interview of the week and seeing the post, but part of the process of the Black Women's Guide show is not just to talk through business ideas and the learnings that we get from talking with other Black women, but also sharing my learnings and our team's learnings and to document that for you so you can see us, growing in real time. So I want to just talk through a little bit of kind of this kind of idea of habit formation and ladder system for myself in the Black Women's Guide. So I want to first talk about habit. So I've been really strong on habit since the very beginning. When I first started the Black Women's Guide, my first habit was to post continuously. And if you've been following for a while, you know that I do post pretty often, but I'll have different waves of how and when I post, which made me really have to reassess my posting schedule. I could no longer post every single day or multiple times every single day. I had to start saying, what was the minimum criteria for success? What was the minimum amount of posting or email that I would have to send out to ensure consistency in my business, and actually roll it back to that level so that I was able to provide high quality content less often but more consistently, right? Because at the end of the day, trust is built through consistency. And it made me realize that as I was doing all these other things, launching courses, selling classes, doing live coaching, all this different stuff, that I was unable to maintain the bread and butter of my lead generation tool, which was my social media marketing and my communication with my community in my groups. So because of that, I had to really dial it back and build a different habit. And what you're seeing right now, if you're following us on the show, is that we're resetting on some kind of standard habits. So what you've been seeing for the last 2 months now is a release of the Black Women's Guide show every Tuesday. And now this is the 4th episode of the Black Women's Guide show on Friday. So you're seeing now some anchor pieces twice a week that are coming out like clockwork. And that's just part of that idea of building a habit, right? The other thing is there's a lot of ways to grow a business. I could do a lot of different courses, a lot of different programs, a lot of different workshops, tours, events, all these things, right? And you want to do all those things. But what you really have to say is, what's going to get me to the next step? So in point of that ladder system, for example, I wanted to do, and I still want to do eventually one day, like these Black Women Guide chapters. I don't know what I'm going to call them, but really meetups that groups around our content that they can kind of watch each week or watch each month and have a discussion and a network around it and so on and so forth. But that takes a lot of work to do. And even though it's awesome, it doesn't necessarily make me any money. It's actually another thing to build community and culture amongst ourselves in a way of work, so we can build businesses in our local communities in a stronger way. But it's not actually a course you're paying for. So if I'm at the beginning of my business and I'm thinking to myself, I need to create sustainable revenue consistently, Even though it's an awesome idea to do Black Women Guide chapters, which if you want to do one or you should let me know because I want to add you to my list. Even though it's an awesome opportunity, it doesn't serve me in building my business on it in terms of the next step. Now, once I get to a level of stability, maybe it makes sense to do those chapters, but it would be ill-advised of me to do it myself, right? To do it now. It would be bad advice I'm giving to myself to do that now when I haven't really built the stability. Yes, I make money. I have months where I make thousands upon thousands of dollars. I have months when I make a couple $100s, and it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, depending on my effort and my time and my availability. So with that being said, it's really important for me to think about what's, again, that fundamental building block piece is going to build that sustainable revenue model that's going to allow me to get to the other things I think are really important and valuable. And the reason why I started this company in the first place was to support not just Black women, but Black people in their communities, right? To help build infrastructure for us to be self-sustainable and self-sustaining, right? So that's just an example of just an anecdote from where we are at the Black Women's Guide and how we're thinking about how we're going to build businesses in the future and how we're thinking through this ladder system and being really laser focused on what's most important toward our next step versus all the things we could do that'd be really cool but really wouldn't drive the revenue we need to sustain the business. If you're watching this, I know you wish someone could just look at your business and like wave a magic wand and be like, and here's the path, like you're good to go, just follow this and you're done. But I don't have a magic wand, sadly, I wish I did. But I do have, 3 tasks that I think if you add them to your monthly to-do list, they'll really help support the growth of your business and help you get a clearer business model as you move forward. If you focus consistently kind of on these 3 things, I think you'll really be able to see legitimate business growth over time, which I think is the most important thing we're looking at. How do you grow your business over time? It's not about a one and done or a high point, low point. It's about we have to look at the trend of your business growth and we want to make sure we see an upward trend, even if there's highs and lows throughout the year based on seasonality, time, energy, whatever. We want to see that kind of constant upward trajectory happening for your business. So let's first talk about the first thing. So the first thing is identify and nurture one premium product. So I don't care if you're in tech, I don't care if you're a baker, I don't care if you have a software tool, I don't care if you walk dogs, I don't care what you do. But just make sure you have kind of one simple premium product. A lot of women will say, well, I have multiple business models and multiple whatevers. And I'm like, I kind of get that, I do. And I think you should over time differentiate your business, your services. But in the beginning, it's really hard to start with a lot of different things that you do. It dilutes the quality of the product. It also dilutes how people come to you and also increases the amount of work you have to do to get people to the different funnels that you have set up. So it's a lot easier to start with just one premium product, one thing you can anchor into that everyone's going to know you for, that they're going to come to you for. So a good example is a woman I interviewed 2 weeks ago who runs Putting on Smiles, the banana pudding company out of Texas, I believe. And she's just going to farmers markets right now and just selling a ton of pudding. And she has a couple of different flavors of pudding. Now, I probably say, awesome, I would sell less versions of pudding. Instead of selling like 15 and seasonal puddings, and I'd just be like, I sell 5 and rock and roll those 5 to death until I have like an engine behind those 5. And then I would kind of do some other stuff. But either way, she's doing just pudding, not puddings and cake and cookies, right? So the more you can streamline in, the larger you can grow. One thing that no one talks about is scalability. So we oftentimes think as Black people, particularly as we're building businesses, is everything's a small business mindset. If I can just do this and manage it myself and cover it myself, I'll be fine. But in reality, to build wealth, we want scalability. And scalability requires that we get more precise about what we offer. And so we're not offering a ton of different stuff, but really one thing really well. This is the difference between, for example, if you are a cake company and you make custom cakes, right? So there's like variations. So let's break it down. You could make custom cakes where everyone has to call, make an order, and then you send it out, which is unscalable completely because everything is custom. It's all seasonal. Like how many times does one person buy a cake in a year? You have to buy a lot of customer funnel, right? So you do custom cakes. The second thing is you do retail, which is like I sell maybe like 15 cakes and some pastries in my regular shop, right? Which is where most people live. It's like I'm gonna just make a lot of different. I don't have corporate clients, so we'll do some catering. And we'll do, not just cakes, but cupcakes in our storefront, right? And then there's wholesale, which is I'm actually going to not do any of that. I'm going to make one type of cupcake. Maybe it has max out 3 different flavor types of that one cupcake. I don't want to push that thing in every Publix, Market Basket, Shop and Save, ShopRite, whatever grocery store in your area. And I want to pump that across the country at every grocery store that I can. That's wholesale. That's scalability. And we oftentimes get stuck at the custom. I'm gonna make custom jewelry, or we get stuck at the retail. I'm gonna make just whatever I can make and I'll just sell it and nothing's really consistent, or some things are consistent, but it's kind of variable, to like wholesale. So I'm gonna focus in on one thing and move that product so far reaching before I add any other product to it. And you can think about this, because if you go to the store, you might have a customer, a product that you really like, where they only sell, Miss Jessie doesn't sell shampoo, I don't think she sells shampoo, yeah, she does. But like Belle Butters, for example, she sells hair butter. She doesn't sell shampoo yet. She doesn't sell, maybe she will in 10, 15 years, but she's not doing that now. When you think about Miss Jessie's, when they first got into Target, they didn't have the full spread of things they have now. They just had one or two things. So we have to think about, again, being thoughtful around how we start our businesses around one premium product. The second thing I would recommend is really leveraging your time. So I think a lot of people don't really understand how much time it takes or doesn't take to build a business. When you do your schedule, if you're not blocking off 5, 10, 15 hours a week to do your business, you're really not in business. Because business is consistency, just like everything else. You have to nurture it. So if you're not going to spend the 10 hours every week on your business, you're not trying to build a business. If you spend 10 hours on 1 week and then nothing for 3 weeks, you're not building a business. So where's the consistency? So you want to leverage your time, right? Think about, how do I use my time thoughtfully? How do I make sure I have time to get the things I want to get done? And also recognize that some things will take more time than others. So you have to look at what you're really good at against your time. If you're not really good at web design, then you probably should pay someone to do it. I know it's going to cost you money versus save you money, but you're going to lose time and lose momentum because you're building it yourself. If you have no choice, then I do what you got to do, hands down. You got to build it, right? Would you be surprised at the cost of doing things today? You can buy a website that's pretty much 90% polished and finished, with all the trimmings, the posting, the blog, all things are in there for like $100 a month. It's not break your back when it's going to save you months of time to build it in a way where people can actually use it. I mean, a lot of people I know who build their own websites, no one even goes to that website. No one looks at it. No, they don't send traffic to it. So what was it worth to build it yourself for free for 6 months when you didn't build any traffic or client, versus paying $100 to be able to drive people to that site ready and functioning within 2 weeks? What's the value of that? Same thing is true for marketing, for ads. Just thinking about how you leverage your time is important. It's something we should think about, that every action we put toward our business has an outcome that we can see. And we should be planning and thinking about our time in these 90-day buckets. We're looking at it per quarter. What are our goals? What do we have to do to get there? And what do we have to pay for? What can we do ourselves? Because some things, for example, people don't understand that, okay, you don't have to pay someone for your graphic design. You can do that on Canva. Or you can pay for someone to do that. You don't have to pay someone to do your video ad. You can do it yourself. Or you can pay someone to do that. So you have options. You have choice. It's not one or none. You can kind of decide your level of expertise and determine how much time you want to spend on it based on your level of expertise, and then figure out how much you want to spend on it based on how much time you have, right? So I would recommend just leveraging your time and being thoughtful about how much time things really take. Because what I find oftentimes that we have a big goal for 90 days and we don't understand how much time it actually takes. Breaking something down into its component parts is super critical to the understanding of how much time and money it takes to get to the goal. Because doing the thing doesn't necessarily get you to the goal. You could build a website and not make any sales. Did you get to your goal because you built your website? We have to stop looking at inputs, things that we just do, or activities, things that we just do, against outcomes, what we gain from doing the activity. So if you're just like, my goal was to get my website up and to launch my Facebook page, I'm like, great, do those things. You have to do them. But what's the outcome of that? If you never post on social media, what was the point? You did all those things, you check them off your list, but you're still not in business, you're still not making any money. So what was the point of that? So really just think about, as a business owner, you have to kind of be everywhere all the time on social media, you have to be networking, you have to be focusing on your finances and on your product. So identify the 2 or 3 things that you actually think will benefit your business if you spend more time doing those than other things. That's going to really serve you. If there are things you don't love doing also, or not in your expertise, just let go of them, guys. Let go of them. And hire a freelancer. You can go on Upwork.com, you can go on Fiverr.com, and you can find a lot of people to do a lot of work for you very cost effectively. it's really worth it to take a look. Again, don't go all in, like slow roll, like let's try a little bit at a time and get yourself acclimated to those activities so you're prepared to work with someone, because again, there's still a person on the other line who's doing the work for you that still needs to be treated with respect and thoughtfulness. So again, start slow, but it's worthwhile to consider, because for $50 a month or $30 a month or $100 a month, you get someone who does all your video editing, and it might make a lot of sense to do it that way. You cannot be afraid of things you don't know in business. You have to embrace the unknown to get to where you want to go. The world is changing. Nothing is static. If you are afraid to get on Facebook because you don't like you being online, if you're afraid to hire someone to pay with a credit card over the phone, all this stuff, you got to get over it. I'm not saying make bad decisions. I'm just saying you got to get over it. Because if your business requires it and you can't find a better way, you got to get over it. And you got to do what's going to be right for your business over the long run. The third thing I would really recommend is just managing your relationship. So how often are you communicating with your best clients? Which reminds me to just email people that just took my course and say, how's it going? See how you're doing, right? Remember that there's still people, they're still learning and growing, and you want to check in on them and see what's going on. So thanks so much everyone for watching the Black Woman's Guide show. We're on every Friday, so I look forward to seeing you, and we can talk more about business tips, techniques, tactics for success. If you have any questions, use the hashtag DearDom on the Facebook group or the pages, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a wonderful day.